Good afternoon. Today is yet another day to study the Gita, and we are going to study from chapter 2, verse 64 and a few others. And why I thought this was important today was because of the running debate about whether to stop having desires, we need to fulfill them, or we need to stop. What we need to do about desires. Should we fulfill them to stop having more of them, or should we just stay away from them completely? So, verse 64 says, "But one who is self-controlled, moving among sense objects, with the senses under restraint, free from attraction and aversion, attains tranquility." And 70, let me just jump to 70. "Just as different rivers flow into the sea, which remains full, steady and immovable, so too do desires flow into an enlightened person. It is he who attains peace and not the one who seeks to fulfill desires." So this is the chapter 2, the verses where Krishna is trying to explain to Arjuna the characteristics of a realized person. And in summary, what Krishna was trying to tell Arjuna was that he needs to still his mind, to control his mind. And to control his mind, he needed to control his senses. And he keeps repeating that a controlled mind gives one tranquility, it gives one peace of mind, peace and happiness ultimately. But more importantly, as far as desires are concerned, Krishna reiterates over and over again that staying away from desires and pulling our senses away from sense objects. So sense objects are objects of our senses. So if it is the sense of sight, the things that I look at. If it's sense of hearing, it's the things that I listen to. That thing is the object of my senses. So Krishna advises that a wise man is the one who stays away from fulfilling those desires, because the problem is once you fulfill a desire, it doesn't go away. It keeps wanting more and more and more. And in the above chapter verses, around verse 62 and 63, which we've studied before, when one deliberates upon sense objects, what happens is that attachment to them arises. From attachment comes desire, from desire arises anger. So 62 explains why 70 makes sense. We should not seek to fulfill desire, because what happens, instead of the desire disappearing, it just comes with its children. It comes with attachment, and since more often than not we are unable to sustain fulfillment of desire, anger arises. And 63 explains what happens when anger arises. Delusion happens, loss of discrimination, and in the end one is lost. So the short of this story is a wise person is able to pull themselves away from desire. A wise person doesn't seek to fulfill desire. If you have to move among sense objects, he explains there's a verse that explains how a wise person is supposed to move among sense objects. So because we are living on earth and all these things are present, in verses 58 he says, when one is able to withdraw the senses from the objects of the senses on every side, as a tortoise withdraws its limbs, then one's wisdom is firmly established. So he says, since we are on this planet and we are going to keep interacting with these sense objects over and over, what we do, or what a wise man is advised to do, what a wise man does, is that he's able to withdraw from these sense objects the same way a tortoise withdraws its limbs. So you're able to move freely without getting tempted by these sense objects. And once you do that, you don't end up fulfilling your desires. Then there is no attachment, then there is no anger, then in the long run you're not lost. So you eventually are able to walk among them or interact with sense objects without necessarily being attracted to them nor being averse to them. So he also talks about aversion and attraction in the other verses. It's a very interesting chapter. Chapter 2 is very, very interesting. I feel like it's a summary of how to live our lives. And basically why I did this video was to just help us understand that when we want to stay away from, how to deal with desires, to stay away from it, it is not to seek to fulfill it. That is a trap in and of itself, and that's where Maya comes in. And Maya traps us by showing us that we need to solve our so the Maya will just make us be more attached, not less attached. So a wise man stays away and runs away from Maya. So yeah, chapter 2 of the Bhagavad Gita. Until next time, Turus.